These are the plaintiffs, Wendy and Dave Matheny. Wendy says they hired the defendant to install security cameras in their house, paid him a deposit, and now over 3 months have gone by and the work still hasn't been done. They're tired of waiting around for this inept guy and are suing for the return of their $1,520. This is the defendant, Eric Gordon. He says the plaintiff's house has wiring issues and the job was delayed. He really tried to please the plaintiffs, couldn't seem to, no matter what he did. And here they are. He's accused of not getting a clear picture. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $648.75, the balance owed on the contract.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiffs say they hired the defendant to install a security system, but after a period of time, they still can't figure out how to use it, and the defendant is unhelpful. The defendant is saying that the plaintiffs have wiring issues, and that is the problem. It's the case of we're not wired, so you're fired.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Wendy and Mr. Dave, you folks were in the market for security cameras for your home, correct?
Yes.
And how did you find the defendant?
Acquaintance through a previous client.
Okay, and so what happens?
We talked to the defendant and told him we wanted security cameras for our perimeter of our house and sheds, and that we were more concerned about resolution and night vision and alerts that would come to us on our mobile devices. And he came back to us and said he found the best system for us. So we went ahead and signed the contract with him. We paid him a $1,500 deposit.
Can I ask you, when you say he came back to us and said he found the best system, how long did it take him to get back to you?
Just probably a week. Okay.
And then he told you the system he wanted to sell you, so you were paying him for the system. He was selling you the system?
Correct, yes.
All right, and then and installing it. And the deposit was $1,500. How much was the whole thing going to cost?
It was slightly over $2,100.
All right, so what happens?
We paid the deposit on July 30th. He told us he was going out of town and would be back on August 11th. He was supposed to have the system delivered to our house. On August 14th, we texted him and he said, no, the system's been delivered to my house and I'm not going to be able to come out until the end of the month because I'm too busy. So he was supposed to come out on August 29th, never showed up. We texted him and he said, well, I can come out on September 3rd. And he finally did come out on September 3rd. He installed wires and a couple of the cameras, and the DVD recorder did not work, so we couldn't get any recording.
What was wrong with it, Mr. Gordon?
I'm not quite sure what was wrong with the DVR itself. We were on the phone with technical support for like 3 hours trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and they couldn't figure it out. So the guy on technical support said just to send the DVR back, and then they would ship another one out to the house.
Okay, Ms. Wendy, you kind of made a face when you heard him say that. Why is that face? What's that face mean?
Well, if he was on the phone with them for 3 hours, it wasn't while he was at our house. It was more like an hour. And what kind of troubleshooting could there even be? Either the thing works or it doesn't, right? Why is it so difficult? Because, my thinking is if the expert can't figure it out in under an hour and he needs to call the expert from another town to figure it out, what hope do I have when it's time for me to use my system, right? But, all right, so new DVR is on its way. It gets there when? October 7th.
Wow, and a whole other month?
Yes.
Okay, and you had paid the deposit July 30th, almost August. Okay, so then what happens? Now it's 2 months, and what happens?
He came over and installed the new DVR, and the system still was not working properly.
Why? What was wrong with it?
We couldn't get any picture.
No picture at all?
There was one camera that could get a picture. There was another camera that couldn't get a picture, and it was really blurry. So we told him we wanted the system removed and give us options of...
Wait, there's 5 cameras. What happened with the other cameras? Did the other cameras work?
He didn't have all the cameras installed at that time. He only had 3 of the cameras installed.
Okay, so what was wrong with it that day, Mr. Gordon?
We were getting one picture on one camera. We were getting a squiggly picture on another camera. The fifth camera that wasn't installed was on the opposite side of the house there, which was like an incline, and I needed a taller ladder to be able to get that in there. When I was there, I went out to check the wiring at each individual camera and noticed that when the fittings were installed, not all of the braid was correctly put in there. And when it got crimped down, the wire on the coax got smashed. So I ended up repairing a few of the wires at the camera. And my other
Were you trying to use wires that have been there already?
No, this is all brand new wiring.
So you had put in the wiring that you're complaining about?
Correct.
So now what's the plan? Now we're in mid-October, and what's the plan? The plan is to redo the wiring because you spoke with the manufacturing company of the cameras, and they're like, it has to be the wiring. So now your plan is to come back and rewire your wiring. And when do you come back and rewire your wiring?
I believe it was maybe a week or two that went by before I got back out there to install the wiring.
Okay, well, I see a text from you on October 12th to her that says, "Hi, Wendy. I have tested the system with new cabling and pre-made ends, and everything works good. I have ordered the new cabling. It's going to be here on Wednesday. I come out Thursday morning to remove the old and install the new." How did you test the system with the new cabling?
I took the system back to my house and hooked it all up at my house. And then that's what I texted them and said, the system's working fine. I just have to put some new wires in.
Right. I'm trying to understand because you had the DVR, not the cameras, right? Did you take a camera with you?
Yes, I did. I took a camera with me.
All right. So then that should solve the problem. So what ends up happening? Do you end up changing the wiring?
I do end up changing the wiring. So I ordered a bunch of wiring from Amazon, and that was shipped. And then once that came in, then I came out to the house and installed all the wiring. And then we were able to get the system up and working.
And how is it working?
The quality, the resolution on the cameras was probably not as good as they should have been.
Well, then why didn't you give them their money back?
I did give them their money back.
No, you gave them part of their money back. You sent them a check for how much, folks?
$800.
Right, and they had paid you $1,500. So if all of the problems are the wiring you put in and then the wiring that you bought from Amazon that wasn't up to par with your original wiring that your crew put in wrong, why should they pay a penny? Of what value is anything that you've done for them? Why should they be out any money? I know you spent a lot of time and work there, but you didn't really cut the mustard, so why do they have to pay you anything?
Well, basically, the money was I refunded the purchase money of the equipment. So when they asked me to take the system out, the system was up and working. The resolution on the cameras at that time, we had to do some adjustments to the outside and the placement of the cameras, some configuration.
Mr. Gordon,
on the
it sounds
system
like
itself.
no matter what, it sounds like you know, listen, they paid you July 30th. It is now mid-October, and you can't figure it out. Have you ever installed this kind of system before?
This particular camera system I had some complications with, yes.
Okay, so if you had complications, that sounds to me like a you problem. Why would it ever be fair that this family pay you $700, that you be able to keep money for work you did that's of no value? In other words, it stumped you. Why doesn't that just end with you? You picked the machine, you sold them the machine, you've never installed this machine, you couldn't get it working. Why would they be out $700?
I'm out all kinds of money trying to get the system to work. I did them a favor.
Right, but you're out all kinds. Wait, what favor did you do them? You delayed them by 4 months in getting a security camera. You never got it right. The wiring was done incorrectly the first time. Then you bought cheap wiring. So tell me, yeah, you're out a bunch of work because you didn't know what you were doing. How is that a problem for them? You sell them something that you sell them. It's not like you're not paid. You're acting like you were paid to be an installer. So you get to keep installation fees. You're not an installer. You're a guy who's supposed to be providing solutions, right? You're a guy who is selling them the product. So you darn well better know your product and your inventory. And if you can't, and that could happen to anybody, there's always a first time. I get that, but my gosh, you expect them to eat it? You're not going to eat it when it's your problem that you didn't know how to solve because you couldn't get it working right? That's silly. You've got a counterclaim against them because I don't care. That's on you. Why should that be on them? Did they do anything wrong? Yes or no?
For the taxes of the equipment, it states right on the contract that they're supposed to pay for taxes and shipping and all that.
Oh no, absolutely. They should absolutely pay for all that if you had provided what the contract provided. But you breached the contract by not providing it because you couldn't get the cameras working. So you breached the contract. You have to give them all their money back.
When they asked me to take the cameras out, though, the cameras were working.
Yeah,
the system
I thought
was
you
working.
said they were. I'm sorry. Your own testimony was it wasn't working right because the quality of the. Am I crazy or did I hear that, Wendy and Dave? That the quality of the wiring that I got from Amazon wasn't up to par, so the picture wasn't great. What exactly do you think they paid for? If they're paying $2,200, they want great. You paid them a $1,500 deposit. And then you paid $10 each for the app?
Yes.
That we were not told originally
Okay.
we would have to do.
That's the least of your problems. The app, when I talked to the
I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
Okay.
I am finding in your favor in the amount of the $1,520 that you are out, plus your court costs, plus prejudgment statutory interest since July of 2020 on your counterclaim against them for... which is pretty funny. You want them to finish paying you? No, zero.
So the plaintiffs recover everything they were suing for. Mr. Gordon, I don't think you're too happy right now. What's going on in your mind?
No, I'm not. It is what the judge says it is. There's nothing I can say or do about it.
All right, let's talk to the plaintiffs now. You folks have to be pretty happy. I would think it's been a pain in the neck for you, but at least you're recovering your money. You'll get that back. How about it? Can't recover the time, though. What do you think?
No.
No, absolutely. Well, we're happy we're getting the money back. We had to pay a contractor to fix all the holes that he put in our house, but we didn't sue for that, and that's here nor there. But we're happy we're getting the money back.
You've learned a good lesson the hard way. Sorry about that, but congratulations. All right, Harvey, what do you think?
Okay, Doug, these security systems are not just protecting your home, but they have become a real weapon in the fight for justice. There have been lots of situations where somebody steals something from a porch and the security camera shows it. The person gets caught. There have been situations where the police have crossed the line and these security systems have helped bring people to justice or at least shine light on what happened. So these security systems are not just for you. It turns out they have really become kind of a weapon for a community so that everybody is a lot safer. It's kind of interesting. It was never sold this way to begin with, but now it is increasingly becoming used for that exact purpose. And when, for example, there's a crime in an area, one of the first thing police do is they'll go to your home and ask if you have video.
The question is, when you are both in the car, who controls the radio? Do you have the same preference in music?
Well, who controls the radio? When we're in the car driving somewhere, we almost never listen to music. Would you agree? It's almost always, especially long drives, it's going to be
long drives. I think you're listening to a book on tape. I'm listening to, or we're listening to a podcast.
Sometimes
together.
the same thing.
But in the car, when we're driving around here in Miami,
maybe a little bit of.
I think it's pretty clear
like
that you control.
Music.
But you control the music.
That's because I'm always driving. Driver calls the tune. Passenger shuts her. How's it called?
Pie hole? Her flan hole?
Something like that. But we have very different musical tastes.
I think so.
Agreed?
I like music that you can dance to.
You do.
And you don't want to dance ever.
And I listen to a little bit of everything. I'm very eclectic.
You are. You have a very eclectic playlist.
Yeah.
Like if I look at your playlist, I can't believe there's country, there's hip hop, there's a million different things in there.
That's true.
Artists I've never heard of.
Social Distortion.
Yeah.
One of my
bands
favorites.
from the 70s.
Yeah, sappy love songs from the 70s.
Right.
You name it. Country. a little bit of everything. And that's one of the things I like about our kids is that they have
a very
this
eclectic, because they're all musical, they're all singers, and they all have a very eclectic taste in music.
And they know that you can find beauty in music and joy in music of all different kinds.
Yeah.